Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Codex Station's Comic Character of the Week.
Oh,
I'm your
he's not
host
staying.
tonight. What? Oh, there he is.
He keeps falling. There we go. Now
He's
we
falling
got
down. He's terribly upset about the
Yeah, he's mad.
he's terribly upset about the outcome of the trial,
Yeah,
which we'll talk about later. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Salad Slab Guy. Right next to me is Dan Kelly, and down there below us both, holding up the pillars, is the Ric Flair Comics, Uncle Gary. How you guys doing, man? What's going on for Thursday?
A little tired. Always get that way by this point of the week, but I'll get an extra 2-hour break tomorrow. We're on a 2-hour delay.
I was gonna say you already got the 2-hour delay, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm half expecting Moco to go to 2-hour delay tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I honestly doubt we're gonna get much accumulation of snow anyhow.
Well, it's not going to be much accumulation. They're just being proactive. It's coming from the south, so I don't think we'll get much of anything either. But we had a 2-hour delay Monday, and it was the right call. Or maybe it was
Hey, Liz.
What's up, hey, Liz?
What's up, Richard?
What's up, Richard?
Dan, I got that Wonder Man cover that Liz colored, and it was really great.
Yeah, let me show that off really quick.
I'll send it back to you if you would submit it.
Okay.
And it'd be interesting to see. I know they'll put signature series with you. I wonder if they would list Liz on it as a colorist.
I'll put her name on there. I don't know
what happens. Yeah, since I know she's not genuine, bona fide, certified like you are, but we'll see.
Thank you, Richard. Best host ever.
Richard,
Thanks,
I hope your relocation went well, Richard.
Got back. I had to find entertainment last week and on Saturday. Yeah, I know. But Jamie kind of canceled on us at the last minute. So
Jamie pulled the plug.
It did.
Yeah, Jamie's not here, so we can bury him. It's his fault.
That's right.
Jamie
That's right. Yeah, Jamie's not going to be joining us tonight. So, but I got his cards and info and all.
We only have power through one plug, and Jamie went and pulled it out, and we couldn't put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Very true. Very true. All right. Let's see. Are you guys ready to kick off the show then?
Oh, I thought we were doing the Slim Reaper. I thought we were doing Kevin Durant.
Oh no. Are you still okay to do the Grim Reaper?
yeah. I guess I got to figure. I didn't have my Durant figure.
Is that his name? His nickname, the Slim Reaper?
I think it is. Isn't that Durant,
really?
Or is it somebody else?
That's such a shitty nickname. I'd be mad if they named me that. I'd be like, that's the best you can come up with.
I think it's kind of fun. Slim Reaper. All right, Richard. Well, good.
Yeah, that's right. He's all moved in on the East Coast.
He's back on the right coast.
Yep. Hey, Thing, what's going on?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right. So let's go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just say, hopefully, and after the show, if there's any game left, hopefully I can go up and watch Dallas get beat. But I had, they've been playing great lately. So, damn bastards.
Who are they playing tonight?
Detroit.
Okay.
But Dallas has just beat KC and Philly back to back.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, Mobius. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us. All right, let's go ahead and kick this show off, fellers. Let's get this act on the road. Let me go ahead and kill that little pre-show text there, and then I can kick off our intro. All right, folks, stick around 10 seconds, and we'll be back with the show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Codex Station. I'm your host tonight, Salad Slab Guy. Right over there is Dan Kelly. Down below is Uncle Gary. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering the Reaper. So, Dan, why don't you go ahead and give us the intro on this guy?
All right. So he first appeared in Avengers 52 in May 1968, created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema. So his real name is Eric Williams, and he is the older brother of Simon Williams, a.k.a. Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
The story goes that when their father died, they had, the family company. So Simon took over the family business, and Eric went off to gamble in Las Vegas, as one does. Um,
Vegas, baby.
he became involved with the Magia crime family, and then after his brother Simon died, while fighting and then defending the Avengers, Eric decided that he needed vengeance on them. He needed revenge. He blamed them for the death of his brother, so he became the Grim Reaper and went after them to get revenge. As far as his powers, he had what was called a techno scythe that, like you could see that he has in the picture in Gary's figure there. It could fire energy blasts. It could spin real fast and make him, he could use it kind of like a helicopter, attack people with it. And then he ended up getting transformed and it became enchanted, and he could use it to steal people's life forces to sustain him. He could also reanimate the dead. He could teleport himself and others. He could create illusions, all stuff that he kind of did occasionally as the writers wanted him to, but wasn't used heavily. And then he also had enhanced physical strength, stamina, and durability.
All right, very good, very good. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it then. See what scenarios work best for this guy.
Hey,
Gary.
Hey, Gareth. Thanks
Gareth.
for joining us.
Oh yeah, man. Hey,
There's Chris. There's
Chris. Yep.
the man himself. Sal and Chris and I were in the same room on Wednesday.
That's right.
We're at
right.
Comic Logic. That's right.
We did. We were. All right, Gary, kick us off. Tell us what you like best or what works best for you for him.
What I like best to him is the familial ties between him and Wonder Man and the Vision, and also Scarlet Witch to an extent, but mainly it's the three Earthstas brothers, if you will. And I just think it's great, and I think he's a great Avengers villain, tied in through this brotherhood, and and his connection with with another Avenger villain, Ultron. And it's just, which is a familial connection with Hank Pym. So, there's a lot into the DNA of the Avengers that's into this villain, into the family, into the crux of who the Avengers are, that this guy has got his hooks in him. And I just love him, having raging against the Avengers for, what he deemed his brother's untimely death. And even when he was told that, Simon sacrificed himself valiantly to save the Avengers, it still wasn't good enough. And then when the Vision was brought back to life with Simon's using the brain patterns from Simon, then he viewed the Vision as possibly his Earthstas brother, and he wanted his brother to, he wanted to have that connection with his brother. And it's mentally doesn't remind me. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So I just love that shit crazy, revenge-minded Reaper that, and then we'll talk about a story. I know the trial where he loses his shit when he has the Vision and Wonder Man back from the dead, and he doesn't know which one is his brother. And I just love I just love that dynamic between the three of them. And I think that's when he's at his crazy best. And, like I said, this is just another problem that is unique to the Avengers, this villain, right? You don't see him crossing over a whole lot, bothering other people. It's an Avenger. He's an Avengers problem. And I just love that with him, and I love the deep family ties.
I'll go next with this one, and I agree with you. I think the family ties and the family issues that they have is the crux of this character. And I think when they heavily lean into that, whether he's trying to kill him, whether he's trying to kill Vision, it doesn't really matter. He's just trying to figure out who his brother is and eliminate the rest. That situation. He's totally nuts. He needs a checkup from the neck up. Let me tell you. I did like a little bit of the later as his powers got revamped, and I have one of the stories later. Talking about some of that stuff as well. So I did like that. I felt that was a good progression to life training, life training powers, because it kind of fit with the motif of his,
I agree.
Right. So I kind of like that as well.
Made him more formidable too.
Made him more formidable and made him a repeat villain. You know, it didn't matter. He always came back somehow. You know,
Yep.
so I like it that he made him a repeat villain with that. So Dan, how about you?
Yeah, it's it's interesting that he's not a villain that's out to take over the world. He's not really interested in
Great point.
robbing banks or anything. He's just solely focused on revenge to the Avengers. And even well after it was proven that they didn't have anything to do with Wonder Man dying, like he was still so filled with hate that he would go after them and then go after Simon too. So there's not many more villains that are as fueled by hatred as he is. And like you said, you're not going to see him. It would be pretty hard to have a writer justify a way to have him like fight Spider-Man or the X-Men or something, because he doesn't care about them. He was not interested in that.
Yeah. Right.
That is not his jam. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. But there is a story that I liked with that, and I'll get into it when my story pops up.
That is funny.
Squirrel Girl got buried for the winter by Squirrel Girl. So that's where he goes off to for a while when he disappears. He's being buried by Squirrel Girl.
And he's buried because he's nuts.
Yep.
That's the motivation from Chris.
Yep. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and jump to badass moments then. And Dan, why don't you kick us off for that?
Let's let Gary go first. It's his character.
Oh, that's true. Gary, give us some badass moments.
All right, and I'm good. Some of them are just generalizations, but I just think are really cool. So, in a story that'll come up as one of my favorites, and is Avengers 160, which is one of my favorite all-time comic single issues ever. And I'm so happy I got Jim Shooter to sign this for me, and I got to talk to him about it a little bit. But Simon has recently returned from the dead, and now the Grim Reaper, who has tried to embrace the Vision, has maybe his brother, and he's wanted to actually before, and that'll be my second. I'll talk about that in a second too. But they're both living at the same time, and he realizes that one of them is his brother and the other is not. And whatever is not his brother is going to be an abomination, and he's going to kill. But to do that, he catches the Avengers in Avengers Mansion by surprise and puts them on trial. Puts them on trial in their own house.
Right.
He's got them captured in their own house, putting them on trial. And I think one of the coolest things that Black Panther's had such a really great career as a superhero and a king and a monarch, but the Black Panther was the defense attorney, for the Vision and Wonder Man. And I thought that was really cool, and how eloquent the Panther was defending them and poking holes in Eric's theories, and basically telling him what a madman he was.
Mr.
And
Keith, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. Keith.
And not only was he renting himself out as a can opener for functions, he was also the one at the carving station for the prime rib.
There you go. See, he's multitasking. And so the Panther, even at one point when Wonder Man did not know that his brother was a villain, and expressed surprise, and he's like, "You didn't even tell them about me." And the Black Panther says, nobody wanted to tell Simon that his brother was a sociopath. So that was just great. And so, but that's his mindset. One of them was his brother, the other one's just going to have to be killed. And but to put the Avengers on trial in their own house, I thought that was pretty badass. Something I almost alluded to earlier was in Avengers 102. He's trying to make a secret deal with the Vision, and have the Vision. If the Vision will betray the Avengers, he will put the Vision's brain in his brother's body that has been in status for all this time. He's going to revive him. He has the power to revive him, and he's been supplied some technology by somebody that's going to make Wonder Man live again with the Vision's brain. So he's sitting there willing to cut a deal with the Vision to get his brother back, to get those brain patterns back in his body. So it's just, again, that dynamic is so cool with the Vision, with the Vision's brain patterns being based on, the what they had made from Wonder Man, on its time when the Avengers were searching, running tests on him after he had been powered up by Zemo. And so I just think that's badass to try to get the Vision to flip. And here, I'll put you in a human body. You won't be a synthetic man anymore. You'll be a real man. So that is Black Terror's shirt. I will give you that. And then the last one is more of a generalization. The villain that this dude works with on many occasions is the villain that every other villain is afraid to even get near. The Avengers are afraid of him. And I'm talking about Ultron.
Yeah,
the Grim Reaper.
He's like buddy.
Is okay working with Ultron, who just wants to wipe out humanity. And the Reaper has no problem, not scared of Ultron. They line up, they plan things together. He is a subordinate of Ultron, but he has no problem. He has no problem working with this machine that even the Avengers are scared of. I think that's pretty badass right there.
Well, it all goes with the kind of familial ties too, because he's the brother of Wonder Man.
Yep.
Wonder Man's brain patterns are in Vision. Vision created by Ultron.
Yep.
Ultron created by Hank Pym, who was married to the Wasp. Throw Scarlet Witch in there too. Throw Jocasta in there. And they've done stuff where it's like all of them kind of in a big thing together there.
Well, absolutely. But even that being said, even though there is all that familiar bonds, the Avengers are scared of Ultron.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's not scared of Ultron. So that gets him high marks in my book for badassery.
Yep. Very true. Very true. All right, Dan, how about you?
All right. Well, yeah, had also had putting the brainwave, trying to get Vision to betray the Avengers to put the brainwaves in the body, and Vision kind of considered it for a little bit too, and then he's like, "No."
Can't do it.
I also had Avengers 160, but I didn't have it on there for him putting the Avengers on trial. I had the badass moment of him single-handedly taking out all of the Avengers in Avengers Mansion, and incapacitating all of them and tying them all up, and then putting, because he couldn't have put them on trial if he hadn't have done that first. So it was, pretty impressive that he was able to do that, just by himself.
Well, he made a comment during it too. He goes, "And you would shudder in fear if you knew who I got, who helped me with the technology, and then a few issues later, you find out who, his robotic buddy."
And then the other one I have is from West Coast Avengers 65. This is after he's died and he's brought back to life by this character, Necra. And she, he comes out of the ground of this grave and she comes in and she's like, "Oh, I love you. And, we could be, they, done some stuff before." And she's like, "We could be together. And, I just enchanted it with your scythe, where you just have to use that and drain somebody's life force once every 24 hours so that you could stay, alive or undead or whatever." And he goes, "Oh," he's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yes, now we could be together." And this, and then, this hapless security guard comes up and she turns and goes, "Oh, look, there's your first victim." And all of a sudden you see her face go, and then, the next panel shows that he's impaled her from behind, and is draining her life force. And she's going, "Why? I did this for you." He goes, "I'm not going to be a slave to anybody. I'm my own person." So she brought him back to life, and he's like, "Thanks, you're dead now." And then he let the security guy go. He's like, "I'm not," and he said, he's like, "I'm not a slave to anyone. I'm not going to have anybody tell me what to do."
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
That is.
Yep. Gets resurrected, and that's his first victim.
Yep. All right. So for me, I also had Avengers 160 on there, and it was kind of like a combination of both Dan and Gary. He takes out the Avengers like they're nothing, right? Has them all tied up, puts them on the trial, but he's not so great.
Wow,
man,
Chris has his own narrative.
He does. But I like the fact that he puts Vision through a psychological hell, about whether he's alive or not, and that was pretty badass in itself,
Yep.
And my other one was actually from the Wonder Man series in '86. He's just pummeling Simon. Simon's not going to fight him, and he just takes it. But he's screaming at him to fight, and he is just pummeling the hell out of him. And he's just trying. You know, it's really it's personal. It shows how much hatred he has in him. For him, and it's just brutal. But Simon, like a champ, doesn't want to fight him and takes the beating 100%. So it's kind of a badass moment for Wonder Man, but it's a pretty badass moment for him that he's just laying into him as hard as he possibly can, to kill him. He almost beats him to death as well. So that was pretty badass for me. My last one I have is actually from the Uncanny Avengers, where he gets resurrected as a horseman. He's the horseman of death when he gets resurrected as a horseman of death. So that was pretty badass because when he gets resurrected as a horseman of death, he's not like, oh, he's all, when he comes up, he's not weakened or confused. He comes out of it and he's like, bam, he's instantly dangerous and ready to rock and roll. It didn't bother him one bit, So that's a level of badassery that I like.
I can't think of a more appropriate horseman of death.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
I was going to say, in another alternate reality, he works as a barber known as the Trim Reaper.
There you go. I like that. The Trim Reaper.
We should just have a show and just do puns on the character the whole time. Chris could star in that show. All right, so
or he's the Brim Reaper and he just wears hats with really big brims on them.
There you go.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get to our next segment. Was what we don't like. So for kicks, he puts our rings out in the corner, folks.
That's funny. That's very funny. That's very.
Well, later on when they brought him back from the dead, they did give him that. They did give him that hood too.
Yeah.
I drew this. I posted on my art page. I drew this. It's even got a nice little frame here. This little quick Grim Reaper sketch.
Nice.
I did it with him in the hood. So. Message me on my art page if you want this because I drew it and I don't really have any reason to keep it. So
okay,
make it your own.
There you go. Very good. So let's go ahead and get into what we don't like about him. So Gary, what don't you like about him?
You know what? There's not anything I really don't like about this character. I think they use him perfectly. That he's he's got his agenda. He's where they talk about in politics single issue voters.
Mm-hmm.
He's a single issue voter when it comes to hating the Avengers. He's got one mode. He's got one issue, and that's what it is. And I just like it. Like Dan said, he's not interested in taking over. He's not interested in in running the country. He's not interested in robbing a bank. He's not interested in seducing women. He's just interested in getting revenge for his brother's death, and a lot of it is self-loathing and all that for how he acted while Simon was alive before his demise and resurrection. So that's I don't have anything that I dislike about the character. When he was first resurrected by Nikra and he had the ghoulish appearance, where he's all sunken in. I don't like that as much as I like his, fleshed out, appearance. So I guess maybe that's the only thing but usually I think that got restored. That got restored when he would, I think when he would feast.
Yep.
I actually like that look better, where he had that and he had the hood with the cape that was kind of tattered. I thought it, the whole Grim Reaper thing. I thought it fit him.
Okay. All right. For me, I got to agree. There's not much I didn't like. I do prefer the original costume opposed to the newer ones. Not that I didn't like the newer ones.
The original, the Avengers 52 costume.
No. Sorry,
the original one that was like the Rainbow Bright one.
Not that one. Not that one.
Okay.
This one I could.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. The second costume.
So. It's they call him Slim Reaper. I don't. Yeah. Chris is on a roll. But not that I didn't like the revamped revision with the hood and everything. That wasn't bad, but I do prefer this one.
Oh no!
And I don't understand the wings on the helmet. That that's kind of odd for me. But okay, You'd think
Or
that
he could,
way.
he could also
Does he get TV antennas with the TV stations with that?
well he could also attend to certain hair removal for ladies. He could be the trim reaper.
The truth. Yep. Yep.
I said that. I said he'd be the barber.
The
Well,
groomery.
yeah, but I'm sorry for
Yeah.
ladies and trim.
The groomery.
Certain neither regions.
Yep. Very true. All right, Dan. How about you? What don't you like about him?
He could also be really decisive and change his mind on change his mind on a whim reaper.
Oh, there you go. I like that. He could be a Moyle. That would be tricky.
I guess the only thing I don't really like about him is he is kind of a one-note character. Like there's not really a lot of different stuff that you're gonna do with him. It's I hate the Avengers, and they're like, all right, we.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's it's the only motivating factor he has, which is it's like the one positive for him, but it's also the kind of one negative because it does limit exactly what you're going to do with him story wise. And I know Busick, and Perez when they did Volume 3, for a little while they had him kind of like working with the Maggie again, but it just didn't feel right for the character. So yeah, it's and to this point, it's like, all right, it's to the point, like, are you even doing this to get revenge on the Avengers anymore? Because like you don't even like your brother anymore now. Like you just
yeah,
it's just hatred.
Well, that right.
It's just at this point, it's like he's done it for so long. Now, what was the one movie where the guy says, like, I've been in the revenge business so long, I don't know.
Princess Bride?
Yeah, Princess Bride, exactly, yeah.
You have the quote up there.
Yeah, Inigo Montoya, like, I've been in the revenge business so long, like, I don't know what to do now.
Have you thought about being a pirate? Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah.
Well, we'll run away faster. You would think. Stem Reaper.
Oh, I like that. The Stem Reaper. Nice.
All right. So let's go ahead then and jump to our next topic then, which is going to be top covers. And since Jamie is not with us tonight.
Well, you know what his favorite vegetable is? It's the Carolina Reaper pepper.
It's hot.
Yep. I'm sure he's slicing and dicing a lot of those.
Yeah, he loves charcuterie.
Yeah. All right, here's Jamie's top covers. So you went with Avengers 107, 102, and
like it.
West Coast Avengers. What number is that? 65.
Yep. That's one Dan was talking about earlier, I believe. Yep.
With the Reaper.
It's the one that's on the spinner rack right behind me.
The ghoulish version of him. Yep.
Yeah. He's back from the grave and ready to party. All right, very cool, Jamie. Let's see who we got next.
Oh, and the 102 there, that's Buckler that did that. So, and he also did 107.
Mm-hmm.
So,
both cool covers. All right, Dan, you're our next. There you go.
I got 52. I got his first appearance. Pretty much for the design of the cover and the art, not so much the color scheme of that original costume, because that was, let's just say, a somewhat questionable color scheme.
I agree.
But other than that, like it's a cool design. Where I like that the effect of having him slicing into the cover and slicing the logo is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then you also have a questionable costume choice behind him with the Black Panther when they gave him that half mask, which just never worked.
Well, what was cool about that?
I get why they gave it to Black Panther, but it just wasn't as cool.
That's when they first introduced the Panther, or when he became an Avenger too.
Yeah.
I
think, because at the end of this issue, like the very end, that's where he says, like, I'm an Avenger. And then, like, the issue after that's the one where he officially joined.
Right.
The middle one, it's the Chaos War, from the Chaos War crossover. It's the Dead Avengers miniseries, issue 2. I just, I love the pose, where he's there, and, that mad look in his eye, and all of the the dead Avengers laying on the ground around him is just it's just a badass looking cover. And the artist on the book was Tom Grummett, but I think that the cover was Paul Pelleter, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Dead Avengers 2. For some reason, I thought the cover was...
No, I'm sorry. I just looked it up. Corey Hampshire.
Right.
But Grummett was the one that did the interior art. And then the one on the end, Avengers Volume 3, number 10. The great Kurt Busiek. I love how it's got the Avengers there being celebrated, and you got the the balloons with some of the other Avengers there, and they're all happy, and the crowd's cheering. And then just in the background there, you just see like the energy of Grim Reaper getting ready to slice through them, and it's completely unexpected. Just thought that's just such a great cover.
Yeah, it is. That's very cool.
Yeah, pretty much it seems like.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. And then whatever the logo is, that's the weirdest skull logo. Kind of looks like a squid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like the what was the squid pirate character out of the Disney movie? What is it?
Pirates of
the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Oh, Davy Jones?
Yeah, it kind of looks like Davy Jones, the way they did him in that. Yeah. I mean, the costume itself isn't bad, though. The pirate boots, as big as that, are questionable. But yeah, the color scheme was not it.
Yeah, very true. All right, Gary, you got yours queued up here. You ready?
You're right. You're right on that. It does Zenora. I like that.
All right, Gary, here's yours. Books.
Yeah, but I'm glad you put 52 in there because I wanted to make sure 52 was in there. All right. The Chaos War that we have in the beginning, Dead Avengers, it is. The pose is so badass, and that's everything he is. He's in his happy place, a bunch of dead Avengers around him. So that's where he's happy. The one on the left is The Vision of Scarlet Witch 3. That covers by Rick Leonardi. And that was a really great issue that got into the dynamic between the three of them. It didn't make my must reads, but it was really close because that really dealt with the dynamic between the Vision, between the Vision and Wonder Man and Eric Williams in that issue. And that was in their volume 1 of their first of the Vision and Scarlet Witch. And then the one on the right, that's my book. That's the one where one of my favorite single issues of all time, The Trial, Avengers 160. By the great George Perez, inks by Joe Sinnott, and I just love it. I love it. He's got his two brothers there, and he's got the Scythe back, and he's getting ready to get one of them. Yeah, he's gonna take one of them's head off. But I love it, and I love the other Avengers powerless, to stop it from happening. It's just a great, cool, dynamic cover, and I love how the Trial is right there at the bottom for you to see. So good stuff.
Yes, indeed. All right, here are my covers. Probably going to see more of the same, but here we go. Yep, look at that. So yeah, let's start with 52. The questionable color scheme, but the real reason I selected that was for the slicing through of the cover into the Avengers title. I always like it when they incorporate the title into the action of the scene.
Me too.
That's what kind of sold it for me on this one. I'll wait for the middle one, but that one on the left, 102. This is a really cool cover because you can see the dynamic between him and Vision, and he's got Simon in that stasis pod, whatever it is, behind him. Type situation. So. Very cool setup on that one.
I love that logo for the Avengers, the A with the the arrow. I just think that's such a cool logo. I love it.
Logo. That is a cool logo.
And I love the Vision corner box. Either the standing there like he was for many issues, or when he's materializing through the A.
Right.
So good.
Yeah, that's pretty badass right there. All right, so Avengers 160. I actually, would you believe I got this as a free book at the county fair when I was younger. When this, I guess, when it came out, they
Oh,
were
that's cool.
they were handing this out, and I got this one and another Marvel team up book between Spider-Man and Iron Man at the time. So I got these two books as a freebie giveaway type thing. So that was my first exposure really to the Avengers, was this book. So that was pretty badass. And unfortunately, the Beast was just visiting his friend, and he gets caught up in this crap, you know.
The Beast, who's a full-fledged Avenger in that book.
He was just visiting his buddy Simon, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the bad guy was like, "Oh crap! Now I've got to save this team as well. Come on."
He and Simon weren't even truly friends at this point.
No, they weren't. I'm just joking.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. But yeah, Gary, for everything you said with the Scythe, with the energy being pulled coming back on it, very powerful, very badass issue. It is one of those single issues that you have to read, you know. And I'm sure it's going to come up in our must read stories as well.
And I think that's pretty cool too. When you have covers where the villain has the upper hand, you want to read it to find out how do they stop him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead then and jump. Hey, yeah, thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Let's go ahead and jump to our essential readings. And as par for the course, since Jamie is not with us tonight, we're going to show off his readings here. Yusuf's there for a shave and a shag. That's right.
Well, when he was with the Avengers, he did. He shagged a lot.
He did. Right. He did. All right, here's Jamie's stories that he wants us to read. Of course, he has the trial there. Avengers Volume 3, 10 and 11, and Avengers 102. I don't know, what was Avengers 3, 10 and 11? What was that story? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, that was a great story. That's the cover that Dan was. Yeah, that's what Dan just showed with his cover.
Chaos
where
Chaos
he's in
War?
No.
No. It's the cover where he was behind the Avengers on the viewing stand and as the energy being, and he was going to come with he had the blade back with the Kirby crackles all around him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. So let's go ahead and here's Dan's readings.
All right, so yeah, the trial, Avengers 160. I'm gonna venture a guess that Gary's got this on his list.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna leave that one for you to go into. The Reaper and the Robot, West Coast Avengers 65 to 68. Everyone knows I'm a big West Coast Avengers fan. Yep. So, I had to get this on there since Simon was a core member of the West Coast Avengers team for pretty much the entire run. The Grim Reaper was in there a lot. So this was the story where he was brought back from the dead, and then he ends up teaming up with Ultron, and Ultron is finding a way to turn people into robots, and Reaper figures out that he is essentially absorbing people's life forces doing this and doesn't realize it, so he can hit them with the blade and affect them. And of course they betray each other because that's what they do.
That's what they do.
It's a cool read. And then Avengers Volume 3, 10 and 11. Yeah, that's the like I said, the one that I had the cover there for with the Busick and Perez, and that's where again Reaper comes trying to get revenge on the Avengers. And this is when Simon was in his energy form after Wanda brought him back. And the Reaper brings all these dead Avengers, reanimates them to fight the Avengers, and they all end up getting West Coast Avengers was great.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up all the dead Avengers are broke free from his control, and then they team up with the living Avengers and turn on him, and spoiler alert, shocker, they end up winning. And then the dead Avengers kind of start fading away. And, some of it was poignant too, like Thunderstrike, as he's, he's going off, looks at Thor and goes, he's like, oh man, he's like, hey, Thor, check in with my son, let him know I love him and, make sure he's doing all right. And Mockingbird was saying something, like, "Oh no, I thought we had more time. You got to find Hawkeye and you got to tell him," and then like she just trails off. So it's laying seeds for future stories. But it's only 2 issues, but it's a really good 2 issues.
It's
Nice.
great to issues.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Gary, here we go. Got your stories up.
All right, and just to continue on with the Avengers 10 and 11, Volume 3 by Busiek and Perez. That also, one of the dead Avengers Reaper brought back was Wonder Man. And at the time, Wonder Man was appearing as an energy being because Wanda was summoning him through her love for him. And there's a great subplot in these 2 issues where Agatha Harkness is telling Wanda the way to bring Simon back is to just, he loves you. That's what brought him back. And for you to return that love. And so it's just this great mystical, exertion by Wanda to try to bring him back at the same time that the Grim Reaper is using his body to have him fight, and controlling his mind to have him fight the Avengers. And Wanda breaks through this and brings back Simon's essence. And then at the end of this saga, Simon is restored in his body into the world of the living again, which was just a really great story. Perez's art is just so perfect. I mean, perfect. Oh, he is the master of the team book, and he is just, he was at the height of his prowess when he was doing this. It was so freaking good.
Well, the great thing about it is the modern printing was finally able to catch up to the detail of his work, so it's not being as much as I like the old newsprint and stuff, it wasn't the best print, printing wise, so you would lose a lot of the art when it was printed on there. It would get kind of blurry, the details, the fine lines would blend together, but with the modern stuff, the modern paper, you could see all that detail, and with someone like Perez, that's where he really shined.
Absolutely. And you know what? This is also a reason for some of that earlier work to get the collected editions, where you can see the art rendered in a much more, flattering style that's not on the newsprint. So absolutely. But yeah, Perez just masterful. The Avengers 52, that's just a great issue because it's, it's the Reaper's origin. It's when he first attacks the Avengers with his crazy rage and anger, and the Black Panther, becoming intervening on the Avengers' behalf and joining a team that was, at that point, I believe the team was only Hawkeye and Giant Man and Wasp. So they were certainly in need of another Avenger, and he comes in. So it's just a really cool origin story for the Reaper. And Avengers 160, back to what is my favorite, one of my all-time favorite single issues. One of the reasons I love Wonder Man so much, and just the, the whole poignancy of this, of the Reaper, who is at this trial, he's kind of concluded that Simon is his brother and he's going to execute the vision. And Wonder Man has been playing it cool, kind of coy the whole time, that once his body adapted to the energy bands he put on him, that they had no effect on him anymore. And he attacks his, he attacks his brother. And at one point, Eric has the blade, the scythe spinning like a blade, like a helicopter rotor. And Simon just walks into it and shatters the blade. And it's just and then he knocks his brother out, and Simon just stands there, after he's really, he's just really down, disheartened that he's had to, knock his brother out like this. And the fact that his brother is a maniac now, because of the catalyst to Simon's death driving him to that. And at one point, the Beast asks him, "Simon, is there anything I can do to help?" He goes, "Yeah, just leave me alone for, if you all could just leave me alone for a while." And the issue ends with him just looking down and despair at, what his brother has become. And I just thought it was a really, really poignant, deep issue, and kudos to Jim Shooter and George Perez for giving me that piece of comic goodness that will always resonate and with me as one of my favorite single issues of any book ever.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and jump to my stories then. I have Avengers 160 as well, so I don't need to divulge into that. Gary, you did an awesome job giving us all the nitty gritty on that, so I'm not going to go into that at all. The top one, Wonder Man 1 through 5, the Brothers War. This 1 through 5, this really defines the core, Wonder Man versus Grim Reaper rivalry, situation. You get, it deepens their family tragedy a little bit more. You get to see a little bit more of that. Also, as a positive for Simon, it starts his emotional arc towards self-worth, I think. But I mean, that's a different subset, but I really like that part of it. But this one really shows Reaper at his most dangerous and personal, I think. And the artwork was by Greg LaRocque, I think, and the story was by Michelini, and it was just an all-around good read. So definitely one to check out. The next one is that bottom one, Uncanny Avengers 5 through 9. This is the Apocalypse Twins Horsemen of Death arc. It was written by Rick Remender. Remender, and the artist was Daniel Acuna. So he's not the main villain. What's that?
Acuna Matata.
Acuna Matata. Yep. He's not the main villain in this arc, but he's got a very good presence in this story. He's the dagger that the Apocalypse Twins are using. That's just going into the Unity Squad, and especially Simon. He really brings out the horror and the brutality, I think, and the family conflict all at once. And he shows zero fear against the Avengers, which he's always done. He talks trash to them, he taunts them. It's just his regular stuff. And of course, he's out to kill his brother again. And it kind of hits his his hatred hits a peak here. And when he gets
Cassidy was doing the art on that, I think, too, right?
I believe so.
And it was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And when he gets his shot to take out Simon, he doesn't hesitate. He goes for lethal strikes, emotional strikes as well, trying to twist that knife in the whole time. He's using this family drama as warfare, and that's nasty. So when he gets resurrected, this is what I was talking about earlier in his badass moments. He gets resurrected as a horseman, and instead of coming out like all confused and weakened, he pops up. He's instantly dangerous. He's cold. He's malicious. He starts tearing into the Unity Squad. He nearly takes out Rogue in this situation too, and the Scythe is like deadly. It's fast. It's just like a horror slasher movie, type situation, and he weaponizes emotion like a physical attack too. Again, he's using it. He's battling with Simon, but he's also psychologically trying to break him down as well. So yeah, this was one of the things. He gets defeated at the end, of course, spoiler alert, but he's never gone for long because he always comes back, and that's one of the things I also like about him. So issues 5 through 9 for Uncanny Avengers, definitely check that out. Worth a read.
Very good. Nice.
All right. So for our next segment of the night, we're going to go with best writer and artist. Gary, let's have you kick it off then. Which one do you like? It's tough. There was a lot to choose from.
Okay, with the artist, I mean, I got to give Cassidy some love for that run. Buscema, even though I didn't love the costume design originally, but
right,
he had some good points there. But I just got to go Perez. I mean, Perez, because of the trial that he did at 160, and then that 11 and 10 and 11 in volume 3 with the Reaper. Such a great story. So Perez is going to be my artist. The writer's tougher because a bunch of different writers added some really cool things to him. Roy Thomas for creating the concept of this character in the first place and what his tie to be with the Avengers gets a lot of love. And he brought him back several times in the Avengers, that he did. Jim Shooter just for writing that great issue of the Trial. That's
Mhm.
so great. Gets a lot of love from me. David Michelini for
One of
doing
my
the work.
favorites.
But it's really tough because there's so many different writers that contributed so much. But because I loved the volume 3, 10, and 11 so much, I'm going to go with Busick.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Dan, how about you?
I found for writer it was kind of hard because he didn't really have like one definitive writer.
No, he didn't.
He's it's a writer would write him a few times, and then another writer would take over the book and write him a few times. So I kind of initially went with Busick, but since Gary picked him, I'll go with Jim Shooter.
Yep.
No, I was going to say Roy Thomas is another strong contender too for writing. Creating the
Tell you
character.
what, let's switch it. You take Busick, I'll take Shooter. That way I give love to the Trial.
All right.
There you go.
And then, for artists, again, it's I know Jamie always gives us grief if we pick, like if we pick George Perez. I mean, it's hard not to, or like if we do if we do an X-Men character and we pick, John Byrne or Jim Lee or something. So the easy answer would be Perez, which is who I would really go with. But just to throw some love out there to someone else, I'm going to say Paul Ryan from the West Coast Avengers, because even though Gary said he didn't like the look, I thought it was cool when they brought him back and he had that hood, and it was like the tattered hood and the tattered cape, and the kind of undead corpse kind of face. I thought just looked, for a character called the Grim Reaper, I thought looked cool. And the hood, I like the hood with him more than I like the big, the big
wings.
I think,
especially when your weapon is a big blade that's on your hand, you feel like you're going to be cutting them off half the time.
well, maybe that's protecting his head. That those, they're like feelers.
They're like warning things.
Yeah, warning. You know what? I think I thought that the look was a little bit redundant because it looks so much like the Night Shift's look.
Yeah.
That I thought it blended in with those guys just a little bit too much. But it was cool. I'm not gonna say it wasn't. I just think I like that version.
And they had the thing too, and that I forgot to mention, where Ultron like fuses the scythe to his forearm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going. And really too, like out after his first appearance, I think that was the only time he had that like rainbow costume. The next time he appeared, it was in that one, right?
Yes, right.
And
right.
Really, the only change that they've made to his costume is when they took off the big ears and gave him the hood, and then it's kind of gone, back and forth a little bit. So, it's not often you see a character get a costume that remains essentially, unchanged or changed very little for that long.
It's a cool character design, so I think
it is.
Yeah,
it's simple. It's all black. Skull and crossbones, cape.
What more do you need?
Scythe.
What more do you need? All right, so for me, you guys mentioned a lot of them. I think I'm gonna go with Michelini, and you know what? I'm gonna go with Perez. I know Jamie hates it, but I don't care. I like Perez, and I mean, and that's not saying bad about anybody else, because have all been equally great. So. But to pick one, I'll go with Perez.
No, that's because it's the right choice.
Yeah, that's right.
The Rainbow Reaper.
It's a good choice.
The Rainbow Reaper sounds like a Flash villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, because we have the Rainbow Raider. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Simple and effective. I like it. All right, guys. That's all our talking points for tonight. Unless anybody has any good stuff they want to add, or any other. Do we have any other badass moments that we could think of that we didn't go over or that we missed?
He is going to be in the Wonder Man show.
Oh, that's right. He is.
I forget the name of the actor that's playing him, but he's someone that I recognize. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I still, I don't hold out a lot of hope for the Wonder Man show being very good from what I've seen, but, maybe.
When is that, February?
I care so little that I don't know. What
was the last Marvel show that was released?
The
What if?
Ironheart.
Or no. The last one was Marvel Zombies,
Oh, that's animated. Yeah. Okay.
which sucked.
Yeah, it did.
Mm.
That was
The
terrible.
last live action one was Ironheart, which was not good either.
Mm.
Except for the end when they introduced Mephisto. That was Sacha Baron Cohen as him was perfect.
Wow. I could see that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I think it's
gonna come out.
February for some reason.
Let me see.
Nobody hates Perez.
End of January, January 27th, actually.
It's January. Okay. All right.
Actually, I do remember Eric Larson. I don't want to say trashing him, but I remember like towards the tail end of Perez's career before he retired that Eric Larson was like putting stuff up on Twitter. Is like his current artwork's not that good. He's kind of gotten lazy with it. I'm like, are you looking at the same artwork that everyone else is looking at?
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I didn't enjoy Larson's work, so, but, you know, who's he to talk?
Yeah.
All right, then. I guess we can go ahead and wrap up this episode of Comic Character of the Week. Guys, thank you so much for your input on this. It's been tremendous. Thanks to everybody in the audience for jumping in, especially Chris there with some good comments. Always love that.
And Booge. Yeah,
Booge,
good puns. Good puns.
Yep. We had a good pun night for sure. All right, guys. I'm your host, Sound Slab Guy. Right there is Dan. Down below me is the Ric Flair Comics Uncle Gary. We are the Codex Station. We'll see you guys next week. We'll have a special guest star on us for next week. Tessa from Tessa Comics, or Tessa's a Nerd. Tessa's a Nerd. And we're going to be covering Zatanna. So stay tuned for that.
You should have stayed. You should have stayed. Stay tuned backwards.
I can't even say it forward. So you kidding me?
Love you too, Chris.
Yep. Same, Chris. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Take